I watched the footage 3 times before I could even breathe. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped my phone. What I saw my maid doing in my home, while I was at work, would haunt me forever. But here's the thing. What she was really up to was so much worse than I could have ever imagined. Before we proceed, welcome to my channel, where I share interesting stories you'll never see elsewhere. I want to ask for 2 favors from you. 1, like this video, and secondly, support my channel by subscribing. Thank you. My name is Rachel Foster, and 6 months ago, I thought I had finally figured out my life. At 38, I was a marketing director at a tech company in Portland, Oregon. My husband David worked long hours as an architect. We had a beautiful house in the suburbs, a golden retriever named Max, and a lifestyle that looked perfect on the outside. But perfect is exhausting. Between my 60-hour work weeks and David's constant travel, our house was falling apart. Dishes piled up in the sink. Laundry mountains grew in the bedroom. The dog hair on the carpet was thick enough to knit a sweater. That's when I hired Maria Santos. She came with amazing references, 5 years of experience, glowing reviews from 3 different families in the neighborhood. She was 42, soft-spoken, with kind eyes and a warm smile. During the interview, she sat in my kitchen and told me about her 2 teenage daughters back in Texas, how she was working hard to give them a better life. I hired her on the spot. For the first month, Maria was incredible. I'd come home to a spotless house. The floors gleamed. My clothes were folded with military precision. She even organized my chaotic pantry without being asked. David and I finally had time to breathe, to actually have dinner together without staring at the mess around us. "She's a miracle worker," David said one evening, looking around our immaculate living room. I agreed. Maria was exactly what we needed. But then small things started bothering me. Nothing I could quite put my finger on, just feelings. My expensive face cream seemed to be running out faster than usual. A bottle of perfume I rarely used was suddenly half empty. One of my cardigans, my favorite burgundy one, disappeared from my closet. When I asked Maria about it, she looked confused and promised to help me search. We never found it. "You probably left it at the office," David said when I mentioned it. "You've been so stressed lately." Maybe he was right. I was stressed. I was tired. I was probably imagining things. Then my jewelry started to shift around. Not missing, just moved. My pearl earrings weren't where I always kept them. My grandmother's bracelet was in a different drawer. Each time I told myself I must have moved them and forgotten. But the feeling in my gut wouldn't leave me alone. "Am I going crazy?" I asked my best friend Linda Chen over coffee one Saturday. "I feel like things are off in my house, but I can't prove anything." Linda stirred her latte thoughtfully. "Have you considered installing a camera?" I felt guilty even thinking about it. Maria had done nothing wrong, nothing I could actually point to. Spying on her felt like a violation of trust. But that nagging feeling wouldn't leave me alone. 2 weeks later, I ordered a small security camera online. It looked like a regular clock and sat perfectly on my bedroom dresser. I told myself it was just for peace of mind. I'd check it once, see that everything was fine, and feel foolish for ever doubting Maria. I installed it on a Tuesday morning before work. My hands trembled as I set it up, connecting it to an app on my phone. The guilt sat heavy in my stomach. "This is stupid," I muttered to myself, but I left it running anyway. That day at work, I couldn't concentrate. Through every meeting, every email, every conference call, I thought about that camera. During my lunch break, I pulled out my phone to check the footage. The app showed my empty bedroom, sunlight streaming through the windows, my neatly made bed. Nothing unusual. I felt relieved and ridiculous. Then at 2:47 p.m., my bedroom door opened. Maria walked in. She was carrying her usual cleaning supplies, and for a moment, everything seemed normal. She dusted my dresser, straightened some items on my nightstand, but then she stopped. She looked around, almost cautiously, then she walked to my closet. What happened next made my blood run cold. Maria opened my closet and started going through my clothes, not to clean them, but to try them on. She slipped into my dresses one after another, posing in front of my full-length mirror like she was playing dress-up in someone else's life. My life. I watched this from my office bathroom, my phone clutched in my shaking hands. I felt violated, angry, confused. Part of me wanted to drive home immediately and confront her, but something made me wait. Some instinct told me there was more to this story, so I kept watching the footage day after day, waiting to see what else Maria was hiding. And what I discovered was so much darker than I could have ever imagined. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay in bed next to David, staring at the ceiling, replaying that footage in my mind over and over. Maria, in my clothes, wearing my jewelry, living in my skin like it was her own. David snored softly beside me, completely unaware that anything was wrong. I hadn't told him yet. I didn't know how to explain what I'd seen without sounding paranoid or cruel. The next morning, I acted normal when Maria arrived. I smiled at her, thanked her, and went to work like everything was fine. But my stomach churned with every word. At the office, I couldn't focus. I kept checking the camera feed on my phone, watching Maria move through my house. For most of the morning, she cleaned normally. Vacuuming, doing laundry, nothing suspicious. Then just after noon, she went into my bedroom again. This time, she didn't just try on my clothes. She took photos. She posed in front of my mirror wearing my navy blue dress, the one I'd worn to my company's charity gala, and took selfies with her phone. Dozens of them. Different angles, different poses, all while wearing my things. My hands clenched around my phone. What was she doing with those photos? Who was she sending them to? But then something else happened that made my blood turn to ice. Maria opened my laptop. I'd left it on my desk, password protected, or so I thought. But Maria typed something in and the screen unlocked. She'd somehow figured out my password. She began scrolling through my files, opening documents, clicking through folders. She opened my email, my bank statements, my personal photos. I watched helplessly from my office 45 minutes away as this woman invaded every corner of my private life. I wanted to scream. I wanted to call the police, but I forced myself to stay calm and keep watching. I needed to understand what she was really doing. That evening, I reviewed all the footage from the past week. Once I knew what to look for, the pattern became clear. Maria spent at least an hour each day in my bedroom, going through my things. She'd been doing this for weeks, maybe since the day I hired her. But why? What was she planning? I decided to confront her the next day. I'd show her the footage, fire her on the spot, and be done with it. But that night, David came home with news that changed everything. "I ran into Tom Martinez at the gym today," David said over dinner. Tom was our neighbor, a retired police officer who lived 3 houses down. He said something weird happened to his wife. "What do you mean?" I asked, my fork frozen halfway to my mouth. Apparently, Rebecca's been getting strange messages on social media. Someone created a fake account using her photos and personal information. They've been messaging her friends and family, pretending to be her. My stomach dropped. That's horrible. Yeah. David said they traced it back to someone who'd had access to their house. He thinks it might have been their old housekeeper, but he can't prove it. He shook his head. Can you imagine someone you trust in your home stealing your identity? I couldn't speak. My mind was racing, connecting dots I didn't want to connect. That night, I dug deeper. I checked my credit cards, my bank accounts, every online profile I had. At first, everything looked normal. But then I found it. A credit card I didn't recognize, opened in my name 3 weeks ago. The billing address was a P.O. box I'd never heard of. Someone was stealing my identity, and I knew exactly who it was. The next morning, I didn't go to work. I called in sick and sat in my car down the street from my house, watching and waiting. At 9 a.m., Maria arrived, letting herself in with her key like always. I waited 30 minutes, then I drove home, parked in the driveway, and walked to my front door as quietly as possible. My hands shook as I turned the key. The house was silent. I moved carefully through the hallway, my heart pounding so hard I thought Maria might hear it. As I approached my bedroom, I heard voices. Maria was on the phone, speaking in rapid Spanish. I'd taken 2 years of Spanish in college. I wasn't fluent, but I understood enough. Yes, the credit card arrived, Maria was saying. The limit is $15,000. No, she hasn't noticed yet. She's so busy she barely looks at her mail. I already have enough photos for the social media accounts. Next week, we'll drain the bank account and disappear before she figures it out. My entire body went cold. This wasn't just about trying on my clothes or using my makeup. Maria was running an identity theft operation, and I was her current mark. I should have backed away quietly and called the police. That would have been the smart thing to do. But rage took over. I pushed open my bedroom door. Maria spun around, her eyes wide with shock. She was sitting at my vanity, my laptop in front of her, wearing my burgundy cardigan, the one that had disappeared weeks ago. "Rachel?" she stammered, dropping her phone. "I didn't expect you." "I bet you didn't," I said, my voice shaking with anger. "I've been watching you, Maria. I have everything on camera. Every time you've invaded my privacy, stolen my identity, worn my clothes like you're playing some sick game." Her face changed. The warm, kind expression I'd trusted for months melted away, replaced with something cold and calculating. "You can't prove anything," she said quietly. "I have video footage. I have the credit card you opened in my name. I have everything I need to send you to prison." For a long moment, Maria just stared at me. Then, to my shock, she smiled. "You think you're so smart, Rachel. You have no idea what you've walked into." She stood up slowly. "You should have minded your own business." That's when I heard footsteps behind me. Heavy footsteps. I turned around and saw a man standing in my bedroom doorway, tall, muscular, with cold eyes that made my blood freeze. "This is my brother Carlos," Maria said calmly, "and we're not leaving until we get what we came for." I couldn't breathe. Carlos blocked the doorway completely, his arms crossed over his chest. He was at least 6 feet tall, with the build of someone who'd spent serious time in the gym. His expression was completely blank, which somehow made him more terrifying. "Sit down, Rachel," Maria said. Her voice had changed. No more sweet, soft-spoken housekeeper. This was someone else entirely, someone cold and in control. My mind raced. My phone was in my back pocket. Could I call 911 without them noticing? The bedroom window was behind me, but we were on the second floor. Even if I could get it open, I'd never make it out before Carlos grabbed me. "What do you want?" I managed to ask, trying to keep my voice steady. Maria laughed. "What do I want? I want what you have, Rachel. Your perfect life, your perfect house, your husband who doesn't even notice you anymore. You have everything, and you don't even appreciate it. So you decided to steal my identity, to rob me?" "We decided to take what should have been ours," Carlos spoke for the first time. His voice was deep and emotionless. "People like you have too much. You don't even notice when things go missing." Maria walked toward me slowly. "When I started working here, I thought I'd just take a few things, some jewelry to sell, maybe some cash. But then I realized something better. I could become you. I already had access to everything. Your passwords, your personal information, your entire life was right here, waiting for me to take it. You're insane, I whispered. No, I'm smart and patient. We've been doing this for 3 years now, moving from house to house, family to family. We take everything we can, then disappear before anyone realizes what happened. Maria smiled. You were supposed to be easy, but you had to install that camera. My hand moved slowly toward my pocket, toward my phone. Carlos noticed immediately. Don't, he said, taking a step forward. But I was already moving. I grabbed my phone and threw myself toward the window, screaming as loud as I could. Help! Somebody help me! Carlos lunged for me, but I was faster. I slammed my elbow into the window. It didn't break, but the impact was loud. I screamed again, praying that someone, anyone, would hear me. Shut her up, Maria hissed. Carlos grabbed my arm, yanking me away from the window. My phone fell to the floor. But in that moment of chaos, I heard the most beautiful sound in the world. Sirens in the distance. Cops, Carlos said, his face going pale. How? Maria looked at me, her eyes wide with shock. I managed a smile despite the terror coursing through my veins. The camera doesn't just record. It has an alert system. When I saw you on the phone this morning, I activated the emergency feature. The security company has been listening to everything. They called the police 15 minutes ago. It was a lie. I'd only installed a basic camera, nothing that sophisticated. But they didn't know that, and the sirens were definitely real, getting closer every second. What had actually happened was much simpler. Linda Chen had been worried about me after our conversation about feeling unsafe in my home. She'd been tracking my location through our shared friend app, something we'd set up years ago after a camping trip. When she saw I'd come home during work hours and then saw my location hadn't moved for over 30 minutes, she called the police for a welfare check. Later, she would tell me she just had a feeling something was wrong. Thank God for that feeling. Carlos and Maria looked at each other. In that split second of hesitation, Carlos made his decision. He ran, pushing past Maria and thundering down the stairs. I heard my front door slam open. Maria started to follow, but I grabbed her arm. Maybe it was stupid, maybe it was reckless, but I was done being a victim in my own home. You're not getting away with this, I said. She tried to pull free, but I held on tight. We struggled, crashing into my dresser, knocking over the camera clock. Maria was stronger than she looked, but I was running on pure adrenaline and rage. We fell to the floor together. Maria's hand found a lamp, swinging it toward my head. I rolled away, and it shattered against the hardwood. She scrambled toward the door, but I tackled her legs, bringing her down. "Let me go!" she screamed. The sirens were right outside now. I heard car doors slamming, heavy boots on my front walkway. "Police, we're coming in!" Maria goes limp beneath me, the fight draining out of her. By the time 2 officers burst into my bedroom, guns drawn, she was crying, real tears this time, not the fake ones she'd probably used to con her way into dozens of homes before mine. They pulled us apart. One officer helped me to my feet, while another handcuffed Maria. "Ma'am, are you hurt?" I was shaking so badly I could barely stand, but I managed to shake my head. "I'm okay, but there's another one, her brother, Carlos. He ran out the front." "We got him," another officer said from the doorway. "He made it about 20 feet before my partner caught him." Relief flooded through me so intensely that my legs almost gave out. The next few hours were a blur. More police arrived, detectives, crime scene technicians taking photos of my bedroom, my laptop, everything Maria had touched. I gave my statement 3 times, showing them the camera footage, the credit card bills, everything. They told me Maria and Carlos were a sophisticated identity theft ring that had been operating across 3 states. They'd hit at least 15 families before mine. The fake credit card in my name was just the beginning. If I hadn't caught them when I did, they would have drained my savings, taken out loans, destroyed my credit, and disappeared within days. "You're lucky," one detective told me. "Most victims don't figure it out until it's too late, until their lives are completely ruined." I didn't feel lucky. I felt violated and angry and scared in my own home. David came home to find police cars in our driveway. His face went white when they explained what happened. That night, he held me while I cried, apologizing over and over for not believing me when I said something felt wrong. "He should have listened," he kept saying. "I'm so sorry." But he hadn't known. Neither of us had. Maria had been that good at pretending. The trial happened 4 months later. Maria and Carlos both pled guilty in exchange for reduced sentences. I had to testify anyway, looking Maria in the eye as I described how she'd violated my home, my privacy, my entire life. She never showed any remorse. Even in her prison jumpsuit, handcuffed in that courtroom, she stared at me with the same cold calculation I'd seen in my bedroom that day. The judge sentenced her to 8 years. Carlos got 10 because he had prior convictions. It wasn't enough, not for what they'd done to me and all the families before me, but it was something. Now, 6 months later, I'm still putting the pieces back together. We changed all our locks, all our passwords. We installed a real security system with cameras throughout the house. I check my credit report weekly. I probably always will. David and I clean our own house now. We've learned to appreciate the simple things, folding laundry together on Sunday mornings, washing dishes side by side after dinner. Our house isn't always perfect anymore, but it's ours. Really ours. Sometimes I think about Maria, sitting in her prison cell, probably planning her next con when she gets out. Sometimes I wonder about all the families she destroyed before me, the ones that weren't as lucky. But mostly, I think about that feeling in my gut, the one that told me something was wrong. I ignored it for weeks because I didn't want to seem paranoid or cruel. I almost paid the ultimate price for that doubt. Now I know better. Now I trust my instincts, and I tell everyone I know, if something feels wrong in your home, in your life, don't ignore it. Don't talk yourself out of it. Trust that feeling. Because sometimes what's happening in your home while you're away is worse than you could ever imagine. I hope you learned something from my story. Subscribe to my channel and comment where you're watching from.